Season 8 of Game of Thrones is months and months and months away, so what better time to revisit Season 7's best moments, goriest deaths, and of course, best reactions to...
Rick on.
Dick on.
Which I think we can all agree was the absolute highlight of this season. Here is the GameSpot of Thrones epic Season 7 recap. Spoilers, obviously. After spectacularly murdering Walder Frey at the end of Season 6, Arya's attention turns to the rest of the Freys, who she kills in one fell poisonous swoop. She then heads to King's Landing to take out Cersei, but that plan kind of goes out of the window when she finds out that Jon Snow has reclaimed Winterfell from the Boltons, so she about turns and heads back up north. En route, she crosses paths with her direwolf Nymeria, but when she suggests getting the old band back together, Nymeria turns away. She has a new family now. Meanwhile, in Winterfell, there's tension brewing between the newly crowned king in the north, Jon Snow, and the rightful lady of Winterfell, Sansa Stark, with the two bickering over how things should be run. But before things can escalate, Jon receives word from Sam Tarly that a mountain of dragonglass, which you'll remember is one of the few materials that can kill White Walkers, lies beneath Dragonstone. Realizing he can kill two birds with one trip, i.e. pick up the dragonglass and meet with Daenerys Targaryen, who has set up camp at Dragonstone, Jon sets sail, leaving Sansa in charge, which all of the Northern Lords are broadly fine with. One person in particular who is a big fan of Sansa being left on her own is Littlefinger, who starts trying to wind her around his little finger. And he would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for those meddling kids, Bran and Arya. Bran is getting used to being the new three-eyed raven, admittedly in the most awkward way possible.
And you were so beautiful. In your white wedding dress.
And Arya starts sticking her nose into Sansa's business, mistakenly believing that Sansa betrayed the Stark family to the Lannisters in return for power. Of course, these seeds of doubt were all sown by Littlefinger to cause a rift between the siblings. And sadly for him, he was outplayed at his own game, with Sansa ordering his death and Arya delivering it with the very same Valyrian steel dagger that Littlefinger tried to have Bran killed with way back in Season 1. Good night, sweet prince. Resigned to clearing out poop and serving soup at the Citadel, Sam Tarly isn't having the most fun at his maester training. After informing Jon of his dragonglass discovery, he uncovers something, or someone, else that's pretty important to the story. In a cell lies Ser Jorah Mormont, covered in grayscale. Using his book smarts, Sam discovers he can cure Jorah by treating him like a human kebab and slicing the infected tissue off. After being healed, Jorah goes on his merry way to return to Daenerys' side. Gilly unwittingly discovers that the union between Jon's parents, Rhaegar Targaryen and Lyanna Stark, was actually legitimized, meaning that Jon is the actual heir to the Iron Throne. Upon seeing the Maester's non-reaction to the warning that the army of the dead is on the move, Sam hangs up his soup and poop scoop and heads to Winterfell. Tensions rise between Cersei and Jaime. You'll notice there's a lot of tension in this season, after Jaime, quite rightfully, disapproves of how Cersei dealt with the Faith Militant in Season 6. Tensions rise even further when Cersei reveals her plans to ally the crown with notorious madman and low-key best character Euron Greyjoy. The man may have 1,000 ships and 2 good hands, but what he wants in return for his help is Cersei's hand in marriage. She refuses him, but he promises that he'll bring her a gift which will change her mind. Qyburn reveals to Cersei that he's been secretly working on an anti-dragon weapon. On Dragonstone, Daenerys gathers her allies, including Yara Greyjoy, Ellaria Sand, Olenna Tyrell, Tyrion Lannister, and Varys, and they begin planning her assault to take the Iron Throne. With her Dothraki horsemen, army of Unsullied, and 3 massive dragons, it should be a cakewalk. That is, until she starts butting heads with her advisors. Daenerys is torn between wanting to be a ruler that her people love, and melting castles with her dragons in order to get her there. Tyrion has to work his magic to calm her down and make sure that she doesn't go full Mad King. However, doing things Tyrion's way doesn't really pan out. For starters, her Ironborn and Dornish allies are attacked at sea by Euron Greyjoy. She plans an assault on the Lannisters' ancestral home of Casterly Rock, and it was set to be an easy win for Dany and co, because as a youngster, Tyrion engineered a secret backdoor into the castle from the sewers. However, the Lannisters were 5 paces ahead, leaving Casterly Rock almost undefended, while their forces ripped through Highgarden, slaughtering the Tyrells and stealing their riches. Jaime delivers some poison to Olenna, and just before she dies, she drops the mic over who killed Joffrey.
Tell Cersei. I wanted to know it was me.
Daenerys' first meeting with Jon Snow doesn't get off to the best start either, as he refuses to bend the knee. The pair argue as Jon is, and rightly so, more concerned with the overwhelming army of the dead who are on his doorstep, rather than worrying about who gets to be on the Iron Throne. But after her series of blunders and realizing she needs more friends in Westeros, Daenerys allows Jon to begin mining the dragonglass that he needs. And conveniently for Jon, the dragonglass cave also contains the evidence he needs to prove to Dany and co that the Night King is real, and the two agree to become allies. After hearing about the assault on Highgarden, Daenerys is back on her fire and blood bullshit, and so she takes her Dothraki horde and Drogon out for a spin to intercept the Lannister forces that are transporting the spoils of Highgarden to King's Landing. In the chaos, Jaime almost dies taking a swipe at Daenerys, and Bronn uses Qyburn's anti-dragon machine to hit Drogon, but it doesn't have the intended effect. Instead of killing Drogon, it merely pisses him off. Fueled on some kind of bloodlust, Daenerys barbecues the Tarly family for refusing to bend the knee, while Tyrion looks on helplessly. Returning to King's Landing following his brush with death, Jaime tries to convince Cersei that they simply cannot battle Daenerys' dragons. Cersei assures him that everything is okay and reveals that another incest baby is on the way. Jesus guys, please. Euron reveals that his special gifts for Cersei are Yara Greyjoy, Illyria Sand, and her daughter Tyenn. He could have grabbed Theon while he was at it, but Theon decided to go for a swim instead of enjoying the family reunion. After such a queenly gift, Euron is named commander of Cersei's navy. Jaime's not happy about this, and probably for good reason.
Does she like it gentle or rough? A finger in the bum. Not now. We'll talk later.
But what to do with the Sand Snakes? Well, in a poetic move as revenge for her daughter Myrcella's death, Cersei delivers the kiss of death, quite literally, and leaves Illyria to watch her daughter rot. Tycho Nestoris, representative of the Iron Bank of Braavos, arrives in King's Landing, and to secure the Iron Bank's support in the war to come, Cersei repays the crown's debts using money taken from Highgarden. She then immediately takes out a new loan to hire the Golden Company, the largest private mercenary army in all of the Free Cities, to bolster her numbers. See, she does have it all under control. Daenerys and Jon receive word from Bran that the Night King and his army are on the move. Realizing they can't fight both the dead and Cersei at the same time, they come up with a convoluted plan to nip north of the wall, capture a White, and bring it south to prove that the dead are the real threat. Davos smuggles Tyrion into King's Landing, where he secretly meets with Jaime to try and arrange an audience with the Queen. Davos tracks down Gendry, who hasn't been rowing for 4 seasons, so those jokes can die now, but has actually been right under Cersei's nose in King's Landing the whole time. Jon and his merry men begin their expedition north of the wall. At Eastwatch they meet the Hound, Beric Dondarrion, and Thoros, who, after seeing a vision in a fire, also need to go north of the wall. Sadly, time is up for one of them. Thoros is attacked by a White Walker bear and shuffles off this mortal coil. A chance encounter with a small group of Whites and a White Walker leads to the discovery that if a Walker is killed, the Whites it controls will drop dead. Conveniently, only one White is still alive and kicking after they kill the Walker, so the guys wrap it up to take it home. However, in the chaos, the group is trapped in the middle of a frozen lake. Gendry manages to run back to Eastwatch to send a raven to Daenerys, who brings her dragons to rescue the party. Unfortunately, the Night King kind of saw this coming a mile off. He does have elements of green seeing after all, and he made some preparations. In an Olympic medal-winning throw, he kills Viserion with a spear javelin thing, only to resurrect him as an ice dragon a bit later. Now, while the others take off on the back of Drogon, Jon gets left behind. Luckily for him, his uncle Benjen arrives and sacrifices himself to save him in the nick of time from the scores of Whites that are out for his guts. Later, back at Eastwatch, Jon and Dany have an emotional reunion where Jon finally agrees to bend the knee. It's good that they finally have a united front, because now they have to deal with Cersei, who doesn't actually take that much convincing. One glimpse at the undead wight that's clawing for her neck is enough to convince her that the army of the dead is real. Unfortunately, it also convinces Euron Greyjoy, who nopes out of that situation as fast as he can. Or at least that's what Cersei wants you to think. Euron has actually gone on a big old fetch quest to pick up the Golden Company from Essos. Cersei draws up some terms. She will hold a truce with Daenerys until the army of the dead is dealt with. The only thing she wants is for Jon to bend the knee, which he refuses to do because he's so committed to Daenerys. Cersei storms out of the meeting saying that Daenerys' forces will have to deal with the dead alone, and she'll fight whoever's left. Trying to salvage the situation, Tyrion meets with Cersei in the Red Keep. He apologizes for the death of her children and talks about the future of the Lannister family, and learns that she's expecting again. The rest of their conversation is held off screen, but somehow Tyrion convinces Cersei to rejoin the meeting, where she agrees to send her troops north to help Daenerys and Jon fight off the army of the dead. Or that's what she wanted you to think. What she's actually gonna do is back out at the last minute, let Daenerys' troops go up against the dead, and use the Golden Company to mop up whoever's left. Jaime finally recognizes how cruel and power-mad his sister lover really is and leaves her to head north. Good for you, Jaime. After failing to save Yara from Euron during the ambush at sea, Theon makes his way to Dragonstone, where he has an awkward reunion with Jon. He and Jon discuss their own conflicts with belonging to two families. Theon, a Greyjoy raised as a Stark, and Jon, a bastard, raised as a Stark, but who is also secretly a Targaryen. Theon decides to rescue his sister from Euron's clutches, and taking Yara's remaining supporters with him, heads out to find her. Thinking that everything's in order, Daenerys and Jon finally find comfort in each other. Quite literally, as they get it on. Tyrion is also aware of their late-night activities, and he looks very worried about it. Well, I mean, incest is bad after all. At Eastwatch, the Night King, riding atop an undead Viserion, melts the wall, and his thousands of undead troops cross over into the north. The Great War is finally here. Oh, and Grey Worm and Missandei totally got it on. Finally. So that was our recap of Season 7, and for more Game of Thrones, including the Hound's best lines and Olenna's sassiest moments, keep your eyes peeled to GameSpot Universe. Thanks for watching!